And welcome to another edition of South Texas Now. This is Attorney Joe Flores inviting you to join us each and every week right here on South Texas Broadcasting. And we're here with a great friend of mine, a great friend of the community, and also a wonderful father and wonderful husband. And I just wanted to bring him on because he's done so much for me, so much for my family, and so much for the community by bringing out messages, especially as a broadcaster. And I want to welcome you. Welcome, Carlos.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for having me.
Carlos Lopez. All right. Yeah, I always used to say the Ted Turner of broadcasting.
Yeah, Joe, thank you for allowing me to be part of this historical brand new journey that you embarked on. And we're so proud of you, Joe. You continue to be a beacon of hope for many people and allow people to come out on the show and bring new ideas and talk a little bit about traditions as well, about who they are and what they mean to this community. And I'm honored to be on your show.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you. I know that you guys have a rich history. The Lopez family has contributed so much, and I know that you've always said, put God first.
Absolutely.
We've seen, the troubles, the travails, the journey that the whole family has gone through. Mm-hmm. And tell us a little bit about the leader, the patriarch. Now you're the patriarch of the family, but your dad.
Yeah, my father started, Joe, broadcasting back when he was only like 16 years old. Dr. Hector Garcia, founder of the American GI Forum, was looking for a voice to do his radio broadcasting programs throughout the country. So he had auditions, and he had several voices. He didn't know who they were. And when he heard my dad's voice, he fell in love with it. He goes, "This is the voice I want." And the gentleman who was in charge of the audition said, "Well, we got a little problem, a little caveat. He's only 16 years old. He's not, he's not a man. He sounds like a man, but he's only 16. So we're going to have to go to Robstown and talk to his mother. His mother owns a tortilla factory in Robstown." And they talked to her, and my father became the host of the American GI Forum show, and that's how he got his broadcasting career started.
And the American GI Forum was one of the first organizations that was really fighting for Latinos' rights.
That's correct. And the scripts were written by Dr. Hector and others as well. And my father would just produce them. And recently, somebody found some of the programs as well.
Oh,
and they're in disc, like in records. And that somebody was able to play them, and I was able to hear them for the first time. He was just a young guy.
Well, we just need to, somehow get those back and donate them to a museum or of history, and also to remind us of who he was. He also was I always tell people, do I have this wrong? He was the voice of several movie stars in Latin America.
Yeah, he was a part of the SAG, the Skilled Actors in Hollywood, and my father would do voiceovers for the movie like Patton, Bruce Lee movies, and we went to go see him as children. We would go to the drive-ins, and he was performing. I mean, it was Bruce Lee actually, talking, but it was my dad's voice. And when he would get angry, I'm like, I know that's how he sounds when he gets angry at my mom. And we were just kids, but it was the most magical thing to experience in life, Joe. It was awesome. And he worked in San Antonio. He ended up in San Antonio back in the day, Joe. And my mom and him had a television show on Univision, and it was La Cadena Sin, Spanish International Network. That was the beginning of that network. And my father had like a Sábado Gigante show, and my mom was the co-host. And they would air all around the country as well. So, sometimes my mom would go with my father to different places, and they would recognize them. So that was kind of fun growing up and experiencing that. He worked for the first Spanish radio station in America, which was KCOR AM, and KCOR owned the television affiliate. That's where they started in San Antonio. And, he would do radio, and then he would do television. So, that was a tremendous tree of experience that I learned from throughout the years of his experiences. It was a magical time for the family, Joe.
I never knew he was a part of the Screen Actors Guild, but it makes sense.
Yes.
I mean, what was I thinking? He was the
he had
to be because he was the overdub.
Otherwise, he couldn't do. Otherwise, he couldn't do the voiceovers.
And did he do? Please tell me he did Darth Vader.
He didn't do Darth Vader because that was before that time.
Darn it!
He was more like in the late '60s, early '70s.
Luke, soy su padre. Luke.
He could have done it though. He could have done it. But I tell you, Joe, seeing him perform and being on stage and on radio and his ability to communicate with people was an amazing thing to see, Joe. He was very, very talented. He had a beautiful voice, but very, very kind to people. He was always, his motto was always, and he passed it on to us as a family, as broadcaster as well. We're not here to be served. We're here to serve. And it's something that we take to heart after being on radio for almost 33 years in this community and in other markets that we exist in now as well. And
also, fast forwarding, even now today, we remember Selena and the 25th anniversaries upon us, or passed rather, and I remember a story that you told me that she was just a young girl,
right,
and they were just beginning to play here in Corpus Christi. And I think your father was the only broadcaster on radio that gave her a chance.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Selena, my father knew already that Selena was very popular in other markets, like in San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, everywhere, Mexico. People were enjoying her music and people were going to her performances. But something that a lot of people do not realize, that Corpus Christi was the last city to embrace her.
Sounds familiar.
Well, and I have to repeat it again, just in case you didn't hear us. Corpus Christi was the last community to embrace her. It's even biblical, Joe, where you're not valued in your own community. People didn't see her. I'm not going to pay to go see her. You know what? I want to go see Mas or La Mafia or Roberto Pulido or somebody, or Emilio, or somebody like that. They didn't understand the talent and how the acceptance of people, the popularity that she already had been achieving in other markets. So my father, Abraham, had an event here in town, and I think 5 people went to the concert.
And that's her father.
That's her father. And they had 5 people at their concert at the Stardust here on SPID. And my father came in and started working with Abraham and said, you know what, from now on, we're going to promote her. And we started promoting her and giving her, the music, and her popularity here in Corpus Christi skyrocketed. It was an amazing transformation. I'll never forget, Joe. We had an autograph party on SPID. Now it's Sam's Club, but that was the beginning of the brand new Walmart, which is now Sam's. And we had her first autograph party. She was in tears, Joe. We brought her flowers, a bouquet of flowers. The line was from the entrance inside the store all the way to SPID. And she couldn't believe that people were there to congratulate her. It was probably her dream that her own community would value her commitment to excellence, because they were doing wonderful things. It's just that Corpus Christi was holding back. And once they released, they fell in love with her, just like everyone else did.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
But it was nice to see that journey for her to, to be able to reach the heights that she did. A very humble individual, Joe.
And we've got a couple of minutes before break, but I wanted to ask about the tragedy that occurred, the shooting of Selena, that you were on the scene broadcasting all of this.
We were, Joe. My degree is I studied law. I didn't go to law school, but in criminal justice. So I learned, but you have to take different legal courses. So I kind of learned how to speak and say different things on the air. You got to say the alleged shooter. You can't convict them and things of that nature. And it was chaos, Joe, when that happened. And when we started broadcasting there, we say it so easily. Yeah, you started broadcasting, but
where was she?
This was Yolanda Salua in 1985.
Where was the assailant when you were broadcasting?
She was still in her truck. And
where?
At Days Inn on Navigation off of I-37.
Where the murder occurred.
That's correct. And so I could see her. But today, Joe, if I say, Joe, I want to go live, let me have your phone. You'll give it to me easily. How do you communicate to people in 1985 with almost no cell phones, Joe? The cell phones were this big. Or they were connected to your car.
My dad had a bag phone before I had a phone.
So
right.
I saw people in the streets that were coming up, and I told them, I said, let me have your phone. And they were charging you per minute.
I think it was like the year was what, 1985?
1985. When that? I mean 1995, right?
95, right. Yeah. So cell phones had just come out.
Yeah, I mean, they were not easily accessible as they are now. So we're over here with big telephones, and then we would run out of power, and I would go and look for somebody else. Hey, let me your phone. And I mean, they didn't mind doing it because they knew what we were doing, but that's how we got the message out to the people, and it was the entire ordeal, Joe, was surreal. It was almost like you were in a movie. Like you couldn't believe that was actually happening.
And I want to migrate to that a little bit. Those are one of the real memories that people, like you said, I find it very common too, that you and I, as people, you've given me the opportunity, and I'll tell everybody here on television now, that I had gone through some very hard times, and my mentor here and great friend told me, Joe, stay on television. Politics in front of the camera may not be for you, but maybe being behind the scenes in politics and also bringing on people might be for you. And I remember we were at a Thai restaurant, and I was pretty down on myself, and you kind of kicked me back up, and we started our show. Yes. And that was back, I think 2000, maybe 2005, 2006. So. Yeah, started the show in 2006. My daughter was just 18 months old, about to turn 2. I was at the beginning of the year. And now she's 18. But I want to thank you for that.
Absolutely, Joe.
And I think you're absolutely right. People just don't, unfortunately, value what you have done, what a lot of us have done, until it's a little bit too late.
Well, Joe, one of my heroes was always Ronald Reagan, and he was known as a great communicator. I believe you're a great communicator. You have a way of connecting with people, and the only reason you've been able to sustain your broadcasting career is because of your talent and who you are as well, and making a connection with people. Otherwise, you would have faded away a long time ago. And your longevity and this new journey that you started here, I think it's going to open even bigger doors for you, and I'm very proud of you.
Well, I want to thank you and Lopez Broadcasting, and we're still with you. Everybody is.
Absolutely.
And we still support you very much.
Thank you, Joe.
And we're going to take a break, and when we come back, you're listening and watching Carlos Lopez, a broadcaster, but also a person that has given so much to our community. And when we come back, we're going to talk about his family.